accursed night flight. I was at 34,000 feet with no way to escape. I didn't understand what was happening. But let's start from the beginning. I don't like flying, but I had to do it for work. I had an important meeting in another city, and I couldn't miss it. Unfortunately, this was normal in my job. I felt very tired because I hadn't slept well for 2 days. I got on the plane and sat in my seat by the window. The plane was full of people. Most of them looked tired or bored. I put on my headphones and started listening to music. The plane took off normally. I looked out the window and saw the sky getting darker. It was nighttime and the stars were shining. I was very tired. I got comfortable in my seat. The sound of the engines was soft. The cabin was dark and quiet. It felt relaxing. My day had been long, but I still had work to do. Now, I was flying high in the sky, going to my next destination. My eyes closed, and I fell asleep. Sometime later, I woke up suddenly. The plane was shaking a lot. The turbulence was strong. My body moved up from the seat for a moment, then fell back down. My heart was beating fast. My eyes opened wide. I tried to breathe. I looked around, still feeling sleepy and confused. I blinked a few times, but something was wrong. The turbulence stopped, but the plane was silent. Nobody was talking. There was no sound from the service cart, no voices from the crew, no noise from the passengers. I only heard the sound of the engines. A strange feeling ran down my back. I looked down the aisle, but nobody was sitting in the seats. The passengers had disappeared without a trace. A cold shiver went through my body as I stood up. My heart was beating fast, and I couldn't think clearly. The cabin lights looked weak, like the world was darker. I walked down the aisle looking for answers, but there were none. My shaky voice called for the flight attendants, but nobody answered. None of them were in their places. Even the kitchen was empty. The cabin was silent. I decided to move to the front of the plane. My heart was pounding as I knocked on the cockpit door. "Hello, is anyone there? Please open the door. I need help," I shouted. But nobody answered. The door was locked, and I couldn't hear any sounds inside. I was alone. My thoughts were full of fear. Where was everyone? Was I dreaming? Was this a nightmare? I turned and walked to the back of the plane. My mind was trying to understand what was happening. And then I saw it. A shadow, dark and almost invisible, moved at the end of the plane. My heart stopped for a second, then started beating even faster. The shadow was moving, but when I looked at it directly, it disappeared between the seats. It had a human shape, but it was strange. I couldn't see its face clearly. Then I heard the sounds. A soft whisper, like distant voices. The hair on my neck stood up. I looked around, trying to find the source. The voices were like ghostly whispers, mixed with the sound of the engines. The shadow moved closer. It started crawling on the floor like a snake. I ran down the aisle to the other side of the plane, but I couldn't stop looking at that thing. I didn't know what it was, but I knew it was dangerous. The shadow reached me and stood up on its twisted legs. It was taller than me. Its arms were long and thin, with sharp claws. But the worst part was its face, red eyes full of blood, a flat nose, and a huge mouth with sharp teeth. It looked at me and smiled. Then, with a rough voice, it spoke. "Are you ready?" I turned around and hit the cockpit door with all my strength. But it was useless. When I looked back, the shadow was gone. The air felt heavy. My body was shaking. I was alone, surrounded by darkness and fear. Then the plane started to descend. I saw the ground through the window. My heart was beating fast. When the plane landed, I let out a deep breath. I had survived. I walked toward the exit, but the door was missing. It was like it had never been there. My relief disappeared. As I moved through the aisle, I noticed something strange. Outside, through the airport windows, there was only darkness. No lights, no people. The airport was empty and silent. I entered the shopping area, looking for someone, anyone. But there was nobody. No passengers, no airport workers, no human life. Fear filled my chest. What had happened? Where was everyone? Was I still dreaming? I rubbed my eyes, hopping to wake up in my airplane seat. But nothing changed. I was still there. The truth hit me. Something terrifying had happened. I was alone. I walked through the empty airport. My footsteps were the only sound. The world I knew was gone. Something had replaced it. Something terrible. I looked for answers, but I found nothing. Each step made me feel more sure something supernatural had happened. Then I saw it again, the shadow. It appeared right in front of me. "Where am I?" I asked with a shaking voice. The figure didn't answer, but its eyes looked sad, almost kind. And then I understood. I remembered the plane, the turbulence, the darkness. I remembered the feeling of floating away. And now, in this strange place, I finally realized the truth. The shaking on the plane, it wasn't just turbulence. I looked down at my body, but there was nothing. I was a shadow, just like the one in front of me. I was in a place between life and death, trapped in a world I couldn't understand. The dark figure held out its hand. It wanted me to follow. Then I saw the other passengers. Many shadows were leaving the airport, walking into the darkness. They passed by the remains of what had once been our plane.